Hello guys and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be making my predictions for game week number 35 of the 25-26 Premier League season as we head to the business end of this season. But before we begin, as ever, let's look at how I did last week. I got two scorelines bang on. I got Bournemouth and Leeds drawing 2-2 correct, and then on the Monday night I got Manchester United beating Brentford 2-1 correct, plus 4 more outcomes correct, so that is 10 points, taking my season total up to 218. And this is how the table looks after 34 matches. And without further ado, let's predict this weekend. And we're going to start with tonight's match, the 8 PM kickoff. It's Leeds United against Burnley it's at Elland Road, and well, Leeds they're quietly getting along their business right now. They're they're like 40 points now, I think, in the table. They might only need another win or so to survive, to like almost secure their position in the Premier League for next season. Burnley, as we all know, are relegated. They are down officially, and they don't really have a lot to play for. They did only lose 1-0 to Manchester City last week. That was a good result for them, given the circumstances, but I can only see one winner here, and that's Leeds at Elland Road. They didn't look so impressive against Chelsea last weekend in the FA Cup semi-final. They lost 1-0, but I think back at Elland Road, back at home, they will, they'll be more impressive again. And I think Leeds will go out and batter Burnley. Burnley can play defensively, but I'm going to back Leeds to win tonight 3-1. I think it's going to be, very close, but I do think ultimately Leeds will get the 3 points here. 3-1 Leeds. And then we move on to tomorrow's 3 PM kickoffs. It's Brentford against West Ham United in, another big battle really. West Ham obviously battling for survival in the Premier League. Brentford, they can still make Europe. It's a tricky one. Of course, Brentford, they have Igor Thiago, who's fighting for the Golden Boot this season. I think it's really a battle between him and Haaland right now. But what can I see happening here? It is tricky because West Ham are in very good form right now. They did win 2-1, I think, against Everton last week in the David Moyes derby. Brentford, they've been kind of all over the place recently, but I think back at the G-Tech Community Stadium, Brentford might get a draw out of this. I'm going to sit down in the middle, sit on the fence with a 2-2 draw on this one. I go for a Desmond. I think both sides can score goals, but ultimately I think there'll be a point apiece, which might be a good point for West Ham. We'll have to wait and see about that one. And next up we've got Wolves against Sunderland in, this is another big battle. Wolves, I say big battle, that's not really. Wolves are already down. They lost 1-0 to Spurs at home last week. Spurs' first victory of 2026, can you believe it? Sunderland absolutely got ripped to shreds at the Stadium of Light against Nottingham Forest. 5-0 they lost. Who predicted that? I didn't, that's for sure. I actually predicted a Sunderland win there, but this is tricky. I mean, Wolves, before this international break, they actually, between 2026, the year start, and this next international break, they're performing very well under Rob Edwards when he came in, but recently they haven't been scoring many goals at all. They've been quietly going about their business, but they haven't really been doing a lot. I think the Black Cats, they can still mathematically make Europe. I think they're 11th right now, but I think they'll be fine. And I think they might just get the 3 points over the line here. I'll back Sunderland to edge it 1-0. I think it's going to be quite tight because Wolves do like to keep games quite tight a lot of the time. But I'll back Sunderland for the 3 points here. 1-0 with a clean sheet. And then we've got Newcastle United against Brighton in, well, a battle of two sides in very different forms. Newcastle winless in at least their last 13 matches, and Brighton are, over the last 6 games at least, the form side of the division. They are on red hot form right now, and it's hard because I do like Eddie Howe as a manager. I know a lot of Newcastle fans want him out, but I want him to stay. I don't know who they can get in that's better than him. And then as for Brighton, well, obviously it's been a long old time, I think, since they last actually played a match. I think it was last Tuesday. So what was that, about 12 days or so ago? And I believe they beat Chelsea 3-0. That was, before the FA Cup. I think I've got to back Brighton looking at the two sides' forms here. I think Newcastle might find a goal from somewhere. I don't really know who's banging them in, maybe Anthony Gordon, but ultimately I think Brighton will edge it 2-1. Maybe Danny Welbeck might find a goal for the back of the net for Brighton. I think Brighton just have that bit more quality at the minute, that bit more form. And I'll back the Seagulls to win 2-1 and a huge 3 points to push even further towards Europe. And then we move on to tomorrow's evening kickoff. It is 5:30. It is Arsenal against Fulham in, well, a battle of, well, another London derby, one of many London derbies in the Prem. But, I mean, Arsenal are the only English side yet, well, still in the Champions League. They played Atletico Madrid. Was it on? Yeah, it was on Wednesday night. They drew 1-1. It was 2 penalties in that match. And of course they're preparing potentially for the second leg at the Emirates Stadium next Tuesday. But they also need the 3 points here if they want to keep up their, the pressure on Man City in the title race, because Man City have that game in hand against Crystal Palace coming up. So they'll need to keep churning out results, and I could see both Arsenal and Man City dropping points towards the, bitter end of the season. But Fulham, they've been a funny old side. They did win, I think, last week. But before that, they went on a game of, a run of at least 3 games without scoring a goal. And Arsenal like to keep things tight. I think maybe Arsenal's quality just get it over the line. I'll back the Gunners to edge it 1-0. I think the 3 points is all that matters at the minute for the Gunners. And I think they'll get it here with a narrow 1-0 victory. 1-0 Arsenal. And next up, we move on to Sunday's matches. It is Bournemouth against Crystal Palace. And yeah, Bournemouth, I know a lot of them are draws, but they are now on a run of 15 games unbeaten in the Premier League, the longest run in the division. And Palace are kind of just middling out at this point in the season. They're just kind of floating in and around mid-table. And they are actually back in pretty good form now, but I know Andoni Areola, he's obviously leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season, and Glasner is leaving Palace. But more specifically with Areola, I mean, Marco Rose is coming in for next season, but it's a bit like when Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool. I wonder if him announcing his, retirement from the club, if, that's going to affect the players' mentality, but doesn't seem to be doing that, and it is at the Vitality. I think Areola's going to want to go up with a bang here, and I think the Cherries get the 3 points here. I back Bournemouth to win 2-1. I think Palace might find a goal from somewhere, maybe Mateta or Sarr, maybe he's in pretty decent form. But I think Bournemouth will just get the 3 points here. 2-1 to the Cherries. And then we've got game of the ages, the big one. It's Manchester United against Liverpool in, well, yep, the big game this weekend. You'd imagine, I mean, it doesn't have too much riding on it. Both sides have made Champions League pretty much. It is at Old Trafford, and if I had to pick a winner here, I may lean towards Man United. But I could see both sides just shaking hands here and taking a point, because, as I say, third and fourth, they're pretty much both secure in the Champions League spots now. I'm going to go and sit on the fence here with a 1-1 draw. Of course, the two sets of fans really do not like each other. I think it could be fireworks on the pitch, but I do ultimately think it will end in a draw here, a point apiece, with a 1-1 draw and a goal apiece. And next up, this game has a lot riding on it. It's Aston Villa against Tottenham Hotspur in a big battle of, one side that is fighting for Champions League places. They're still 5th in the table. And one side in Spurs, who are 18th and battling relegation here this season. And this is tricky because since Roberto De Zerbi's come in at Spurs, he's made them more competitive than they were. They're still not scoring boatloads of goals, but they're getting the points over the line that they need. I think it's, 4 points in the last 2 matches for them, which is actually better than they've been doing. They got their first win of the season last time out. But here's what I think, though. On their day, Villa can, fire in loads of goals. They can show up and rip teams to shreds when they need to. And obviously, Nottingham Forest did actually beat Villa in the first leg 1-0 of their Europa League semi-final at the City Ground. It's now, going to go to Villa Park next week. I think Villa will be prepared for that game by smashing Spurs here. I just look at home advantage and the form, and I think Villa will actually smash them. I'll go Villa to win 3-1. I have no logic on this because Villa haven't actually been performing that great recently. But I think they'll get the 3 points here. 3-1 to Villa. And next up, we've got Chelsea against Nottingham Forest in a battle of two sides that are on, again, another battle of two sides on pretty different forms right now. Chelsea are, on very bad form in the league, it must be said. And Forest are actually in pretty decent form recently. They just, hammered Sunderland 5-0 last time out in the Premier League. Chelsea off the back of the 3-0 loss to Brighton in the league. Of course, they did win 1-0 against Leeds in the FA Cup semi-final, but they didn't play overly convincingly in that game either. I just look at this game. It is at Stamford Bridge, and I do think, because obviously Chelsea have sacked Liam Rosenior as well, and they've, got the interim till the end of the season, and I just wonder if he's going to be the difference here. If they still had Rosenior, I may well be backing Forest, but I just think that interim might get a point out of this. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I'll sit on the fence. I think he might get a point for Chelsea, which still won't really help. I think they're still 6th in the table coming into the match. Forest are 16th, but they are, I think as things stand, Forest may well actually drag Newcastle down into this relegation sandwich as well, which would be insane. I think it will be a point apiece with a 1-1 draw on this one. And that game was on the Monday night, as is this one. It's Everton against Manchester City in, this is a big game. Obviously, David Moyes has actually been picking up points on a pretty consistent basis for Everton. recently over the last few months. And, well, of course, Man City are still in this title race. But weirdly, if they drop points against Everton, then Arsenal may well be back in the driving seat here. Funny thing is, in recent times, neither of these sides have been scoring a boatload of goals in games. Everton, for the longest time, haven't. It is at the Hill Dickinson as well. That's what makes me, find this game a bit interesting. But I think Man City just have the quality. I think they know they need to keep winning to keep the pressure on Arsenal, especially with that game in hand that we talked about earlier. I think Man City will just get the 3 points here. I back Man City to edge it 2-1, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if Everton came out of here with a draw. But I'm going to sit on the fence with a... Well, no, I'm not. I'm going for a Man City win, 2-1. And there you have it, guys. All 10 Premier League matches for this weekend predicted. Let me know your predictions as ever in the comments down below. I'd love to see them. And yeah, we'll be back next week to predict week 36, and also at the beginning of that video review how I did on this set of fixtures. But until then, I'll see you all in the next one.